Into the Spider-Verse told us that anyone can be Spider-Man. But is this really true? Spider fans are always talking about who is the best Spider-Man. Is it Tommy? Is it Toby? Is it this guy? And is this internet brawl even necessary in a post-Spider-Verse world? We're gonna look at what makes each major film Spider-Man great, and answer the big spider question. Can anyone really be Spider-Man? I sure hope so. The world needs a... Whoa! Incoming spoilers for all Spidey films. Tom Holland can't possibly be the best Spider-Man. His story and portrayal deviates too far from the comic book canon, right?
Don't flip! Yeah!
Well, yes, he is different from the comics. But that might just be a side effect of writers trying to differentiate him from his live-action predecessors. His younger age brings a refreshing exuberance to the character.
Look, I'm just gonna be myself.
Look how excited he is! Is this kid snorting espresso? Nah, he's just high on life.
Yes! Yeah!
This film taps into that awkward, adolescent mishmash of child and adult in a way that's entertaining. This ain't High School Musical. But the school is actually important to Peter. Gee, I wonder why. Should I go find this bad guy hideout? Or maybe I'd rather be smothered by the hottest and smartest girls in bathing suits who want my body. This makes him so damn fun to watch. And since his films skip the spider origin tragedy, we can just focus on him living out our fantasy, to fly through the city and play with futuristic gadgets that would make Batman blush. The stakes he deals with are often small enough to picture in our own lives. You can't save the world in your pajamas staring at your phone. Hell, I can barely muster the energy to get my one leg into my spider suit. God damn it! Ugh. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is unique in that he democratizes his heroism.
I don't know how to work as a team.
Me neither.
You could say other Spider-Men act like the one-punch man of spider heroes, while Tom Holland is Sailor Moon, and his friends are the Sailor Scouts, but less powerful, by many orders of magnitude. Because he's often getting help from his friends, who act as a kind of support team. Even when he's alone, he's chatting up his spider suit's AI, which he only has because of Tony Stark. I guess you could say he's a team player. He doesn't shoulder his superhero status as a burden. There's something very casual about the way he carries his responsibility. In comparison, the others act so melancholic. Save the city? Goodbye forever. Save a train full of people? Jesus. He makes it look so simple and fun. Tom Holland might not be like previous incarnations of the character, but he carries such a gee-golly energy
I'm intimidating.
that one can't help but feel his delight just to take part in the action.
Why are you narrating in that voice?
Because it's fun.
Spider-Man always feels like an underdog superhero. He doesn't feel OP like the rest of the Avengers sometimes do. We like somebody we can root for because he's never quite up to snuff. This is where Into the Spider-Verse shines. Shameik Moore stars as the adorable Miles Morales, who is the epitome of the underdog. See, Miles may get his powers early in the film, but he doesn't truly become Spider-Man until the final battle. So we spend much of our time with a very vulnerable protagonist. But all of his best traits stem from this.
That's new.
Including humor. Miles is so goddamn funny.
Hey.
The humor is all about how inexperienced he is. Every time he wants to put on his big boy pants and say or do something with gravitas, he's stopped dead in his tracks.
They're counting on me. Probably not you specifically.
His vulnerability is even turned metaphor when he discovers he can turn invisible. You feel sympathy for him because we've all been there. Awkwardly wasting first impressions, shamefully backing down from a challenge, and being intimidated out of the room by peers. We're rooting for him for so long, waiting for his big moment. But the wait is all the more satisfying when he finally knows himself and dons a suit all his own. I'm still waiting for my moment. Spider-Man is a boy who turns superhero to atone for the mistakes of his past. A second chance, if you will. If there was a Spider-Man who embodied this the most, it would be Andrew Garfield in the Amazing Spider-Man films, as both the character and the actor. The Amazing Spider-Man was released so soon after the Sam Raimi films that they wanted to be completely different. The movie's darker and more serious in tone. Instead of an awkward Peter Parker, we have a cool Peter Parker. He's handsome, confident, and he skateboards. All scriptwriters know that if a kid skateboards, you know he's cool. But a lot of people feel like Peter is not supposed to be cool. Well, that's actually one of the great things about the Spider-Verse. Each Spidey is relieved of the burden of having to stick to a Spider-Man blueprint. Garfield is also a very gifted actor. He's had a prolific career with range. Have you seen Silence? He can be very intense without having it come across as campy. Even when Spider-Man reaches his lowest point, Garfield raises the bar with a substantial performance, despite being couched in the messier Spider-Man films. You know, the ones that really shit the bed. This was necessary because Spider-Man lives in the dreariest of all Spider-Verses, except maybe Spider-Man Noir. Most Spider-Man incarnations begin with a tragedy, but it seems like this Spider-Man gets hammered again and again with misfortune that ripples through the tone of the films. Thank God we have Andrew Garfield there to portray all this anguish. Seriously, the film would be a farce without a really good actor. He also shows up in Spider-Man No Way Home. Despondent and still reeling from his failure to save Gwen Stacy in his own universe, he gives the audience an emotional reconciliation when he saves MJ of the MCU from dying in a similar way. His flashes of relief and disbelief show that this cool Spider-Man is very complicated underneath. Wait! This second chance with saving MJ gets really meta. Andrew Garfield only got 2 Spider-Man movies before he was recast, and although somewhat disillusioned, he gave the sense in interviews that he had more to give to the role, which is exactly what he does in No Way Home. Like a multi-dimensional rebound. Yeah, that sounds right. And then there's Toby. You know, there's a lot of love for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and it's all thanks to, well, Sam Raimi and his idiosyncratic direction. Complete with all the camp that often comes with comic books, there's a lot of melodrama in these films. The most intense scenes are still playfully winking at us. This makes Tobey Maguire perfect for these films. There's a reason it's his Spider-Man getting memed into oblivion. Tobey's Puss in Boots face is perfect for this universe, since it's the most literal translation from comic book to film. His eyes are so big they barely fit into their sockets, and they gleam like shoujo anime eyes. His uncharismatic oddball nature ends up becoming the key to his relatability. Earnestness devoid of camp doesn't really belong in the Sam Raimi universe, so someone like Andrew Garfield might actually not be a good fit for these films. This is why people say Tobey is most like Spider-Man from the comics, because he is in a comic, and his face and acting style fit this perfectly.
It's a jungle out there. I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries.
Ever since Into the Spider-Verse, we've known that there is a multiverse of spider people out there. We even met a few of them, but it's this guy, Peter B. Parker, played by Jake Johnson, who's left an indelible impression on viewers. There's something so lovable about him. He's jaded and gruff, making him a goldmine of experience for Miles Morales as far as how to be, or not to be, a Spider-Man. But when he puts on his own suit, he's actually competent despite his age and wariness. Peter B. Parker could easily have been one big joke, where he can't fit into the suit anymore, and he's constantly falling over or missing his web shots. But we believe in him and root for him, because despite being an older Spider-Man, he's still got it. And even though he starts off as a reluctant teacher to Miles, he ends up being the most encouraging.
I love you. I'm so proud of you.
He's also one of the saddest Peter Parkers. He's just gotten bored with the whole superhero thing. And he ended up losing the love of his life through much more relatable means.
She wanted kids and it scared me.
Age, fear, work, and just having different life paths. Few of us will ever be in the position Andrew Garfield was when he loses Gwen Stacy, but all of us will lose someone the way Peter B. Parker did. Despite being animated, he's the most real Spider-Man. So, we've seen that each Spider-Man can be unique in character, backstory, abilities, and even acting style, and each brings something to the table that's really fun, even in a film where the whole is less than the sum of its parts. This may be why No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse were so well received. The characters of Into the Spider-Verse are designed to fit together like puzzle pieces. And in No Way Home, the 3 live-action Spider-Men, though not originally written to someday interact, end up fitting really well together. Spideys together are more than their sum. They root for each other and support each other. And that's what's so inspiring about these heroes, and the Spider-Verse itself. When together, rather than being in constant conflict, they let different Spideys be different Spideys. And hopefully, we the audience can't help but follow their lead, showing us that after all, anyone can be Spider-Man.